I would next like to introduce Mr. Randy Steidl. Randy is also an exoneree. Randy spent 17 years in prison in Illinois for murders that he, as well, just like with Juan Melendez, did not commit. I'd like to introduce Mr. Randy Steidl.
Thank you for having me today. As Vicki said, I spent over 17 years in prison, 12 on death row, with 2 execution dates. And I can't begin to describe the devastating effects that had on not only me, but my family. And through the years of appeals process, that was an exercise in futility through the state courts. Finally, in 1999, I got relief. I got a natural life sentence, which was life without parole. And I'm here today to explain to you that as harsh as death row was for those 12 years, I found that that life sentence, 5.5 years of that natural life, was far harsher. It was a passive death sentence. With the mistakes that Illinois has made, I'm just one of 18 Illinois survivors off of death row. One of 130 in the country. With a mistake average like that, we have a system in place that's clearly broken. This country holds the banners for all humanities. We dictate to other countries how they should treat their people. But yet we have this barbaric system in place. I believe if you really, really want to punish somebody, you lock them up for the rest of their life so they have to think about the crimes they committed. We have an error rate that is too great. You have, as Vicki said, prosecutorial misconduct, which plays into a lot of these convictions. You have police misconduct, perjured testimony, faulty eyewitness testimony. The case goes on and on and on. The death penalty in this country is not about justice. It's about revenge. And we all know revenge is a hate crime. We have laws in the country against hate crimes. And sooner or later, New Mexico will execute an innocent person if they haven't already, which I'm sure by documented cases, there's been 2. And those people were Thomas Johnson and Lewis Young. Lewis Young in 1947 and Thomas Johnson in 1933. They're one of the 23 documented cases that was done in 1992. Well, I'm asking, since 1992, how many others have we executed that were actually innocent? Even if a prosecution does everything above board, police don't lie. There's still that possibility of an innocent man going to their death. And I believe in my heart that you can release an innocent man from prison. You can't release him from the grave. So I ask all New Mexicans to please get behind the repeal effort and abolish this barbaric system that we have in the United States of America. Thank you very much.
I would now like to introduce Cathy Ansheles. Cathy, as many of you know, was the former me with the coalition for many years. And now she works with the Murder Victims Families for Reconciliation. She's on their national board. She has worked on repealing the death penalty for many years in many places, and we are so proud and thrilled to have her as a partner in this. Cathy Ansheles.
This is one beautiful viewpoint from here. Thank you all for being here. I am a member of Murder Victims Families for Reconciliation, New Mexico, people who have all suffered the loss of a loved one and who nonetheless oppose the death penalty. Today, in partnership with the New Mexico Coalition to Repeal the Death Penalty, MVFR has distributed to our legislature a publication called Not in Our Name, a sampling of stories and photos describing those we have loved and lost. In this booklet are portraits of New Mexicans, some of whom are here today, who have endured the pain and devastation of losing someone to violence, but have found the incredible courage to express their opposition to the death penalty. And I thank you, each and every one of you. Along with the Not in Our Name publication, we have delivered a letter to members of the House and the Senate, signed by victims' family members throughout the state, voicing our support for repeal of New Mexico's death penalty. We support repeal because we have already seen too much killing. The death penalty does not serve our needs, and we believe the money and time spent on this policy could be better spent on services for families and resources to help with healing. We urge our New Mexico legislators and the governor to pass and sign a repeal bill this year. Thank you.
I'd next like to introduce Ray Kone. Ray is also an exoneree, whereas I told you Juan was the 99th man released from death row. Ray was the 100th man. Ray is the Director of Communications and Training for Witness to Innocence, and he is one of our few cases where DNA did come into play. So with no further ado, I'd like to introduce Mr. Ray Kone.
I moved, honestly. No, it's a great honor, great privilege to be here. I think about what this movement has been through since a few years that I've been out. And I have to say, I used to support the death penalty. But I also used to be a Boy Scout. Used to be in the church choir. Used to be in Little League. Used to be in the Air Force. Used to be in the post office. Yes, and I used to be on death row also. And that's when my change of heart, my change of attitude, my thoughts changed. Because I remember saying the Pledge of Allegiance when I was in school and it said liberty and justice for all. I looked around and I didn't see that liberty. I didn't see that justice for all. Just for the few, just for the some. Was it for the rich, not for the poor? Was it for the haves, not for the have-nots? And I had to reevaluate and look at some of my opinions. Were they a mile wide and only inch deep because I didn't know what I believed in, what I stood for? And it's a tough day when you wonder and you question a lot of your beliefs. But when you go through that thought process and you finally come to the realization that you were wrong, you don't run and hide from it. You go up, you stand up, and you speak out about it. And so instead of this being about my story, this should be about y'all's story. What you've done and accomplished here in New Mexico. Let your voice be heard. Let your actions be seen to your legislators, your representatives, to your neighbor, to your fellow congressional people, to your family, to your friends. Let them know what you believe in, what you stand for, and why. We've heard plenty of reasons already why to abolish the death penalty. I don't have to go into them. The problem with discrimination, the problem with who have the money, poor representation. We all know those reasons. We know we've been fooled, we've been duped by politicians who want to stay in power. And the whole time they're using that axe, that death, that revenge to say it's keeping us safe, it's making us better. Well, I know what it's like to be called a murderer. I know what it's like to feel like a murderer sitting in that courtroom. I don't want that blood on my hands, folks. When they execute people, they say they're doing it in our name, not in my name. So continue to let your voice be heard. Continue to let your actions be seen. And I know what good will come out of it, what progress will come. Just as slavery was abolished, just as women got the right to vote, just as segregation disappeared, so one day will the death penalty. And New Mexico is going to be one of the first states again to be ahead of the forefront for that progress. Thank you.